The jailed leader of the Kurdistan Workers Party, PKK, calls on the outlawed group to convene a conference in spring on laying down its arms. The pro-Kurdish People's Democratic Party, HDP, announced on Saturday, in a landmark step towards ending the PKK's 30-year-old armed campaign. I invite the PKK to convene an extraordinary Congress in spring months to make the strategic and historic decision on the basis of ending the armed struggle, HDP's Sırrı Süreyya under-quoted Öcalan as saying at a joint news conference with Deputy Prime Minister Yalçın Akdoğan and Interior Minister Efkan in Istanbul. Two other HDP lawmakers, Pervin Buldan and İdris Balüken, also attended the conference, which followed a 45-minute meeting between the HDP delegation and Akdoğan and Ala. We call on all democratic parties to support this democratic solution, Önder said, asserting that Turkey is closer than ever to peace. We have reached an important point in the settlement process, Akdoğan told the same conference. He said the democratic progression will gather momentum once arms are left aside. Önder, Balüken and Buldan are members of a HDP delegation, which has been regularly holding talks with Öcalan in his prison in an island off Istanbul. The HDP delegation had its last meeting with Öcalan on Friday, Akdoğan said. The call for the PKK's disarmament follows 2-year talks between the Turkish state and Öcalan as part of a settlement process aimed at resolving the decades-old Kurdish issue peacefully through talks. Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu said the joint statement marked a new phase in the settlement process and said now everyone should refrain from any rhetoric that might encourage violence. The discourse of arms and violence will end and the road will be opened for a discourse of democracy, he told a meeting of his Justice and Development Party, AK Party. The government will be closely following the implementation of the statement, Davutoglu also said. There was no immediate comment from the PKK leadership based in Kandil Mountains in northern Iraq, but analysts say it is unlikely that the announcement was made without the PKK command's consent. Kurdish observers say a possible PKK decision to lay down arms would be limited to Turkey given the security challenges in the region, such as the rise of the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL, which has targeted Kurdish populations in Iraq and Syria. PKK elements have helped victories by other Kurdish groups against ISIL in Iraq and Syria. The 10 demands. The government has long been waiting for Öcalan's disarmament call, but it was delayed because of lingering disagreements over the Kurdish demands on how the peace negotiations must proceed. The HDP has said the government must agree on a 10-item list of principles on which to base future negotiations in order for the call on the PKK to lay down its arms to be made. The list, recently unveiled by HDP CO leader Selahattin Demirtas and repeated by Önder on Saturday, is as follows. 1. The definition and content of democratic politics must be debated. 2. What needs to be done for the national and local dimensions of democratic settlement. 3. The legal and democratic assurances of free citizenship. 4. The relationship between democratic politics and the state and society and its institutionalization. 5. The socio-economic dimensions of the settlement process. 6. The new security structure that the settlement process will lead to. 7. The solving of problems and the legal assurances pertaining to women's rights, culture, and ecology. 8. The concept, definition, and development of pluralist, democratic and equal mechanisms to acknowledge identity. 9. The definition of concepts of democratic state, common land, and the nation by democratic means, their legal and constitutional rights enshrined in the pluralist democratic system, and 10. A new constitution aiming to internalize all of the above democratic moves and transformations. The principles are now expected to constitute the basis for substantial negotiations between the Turkish state and the Kurdish side on how to resolve the Kurdish issue. Analysts highlight the vague nature of the 10 articles, meaning it is too early to say what specific demands the negotiations will focus on. Speaking after the HDP government joint statement, HDP CO leader Demirtas said that disarmament Congress would be held after consensus on the measures outlined in the statement is reached. He said the declaration underscored that a critical phase has been reached in efforts to achieve lasting peace. The two sides have made mutual commitments on the progression of the settlement process with the statement, Demirtas told reporters, adding that the government should now take concrete steps to bring the promised democratic improvements into life. He particularly highlighted concerns about a controversial security package pushed ahead by the government in parliament, saying the proposed legislation should be revised if peace efforts are to advance. It would be contradictory if the government both promises to take democratization steps and insists on this package at the same time, he said. But he appeared pessimistic about the government willingness to take more democratization steps for peace, saying it does not give any hope that it is moving towards peace.